financial aid society, and they would pay the rent, they would pay the mortgage, they would pay the children's schooling. So all of that pool came together. So that way, like, we could all help each other.
Right.
So in 1794 was when actually there was sort of church services held here. And then even in 1791. And 1805 was the first church. As you know, the AME church wasn't founded until 1816.
Right.
So, of course, you'll see the two separate entrances for men and women. Down here, the third brick church was built in 1841. And then the present-day church was built in 1889. You'll see that there was not a big time span between 1841 and 1889, only 40 years. This church actually had some structural issues, the third church. So they had the chance to, they had the opportunity to either fortify it or to build this, to build this structure for not so much more money. So the price came down. So like this one had the structural issues where that when the windows were open and the doors were open in winter, the whole building was not a good one. Just give me one moment. I'm just going to head down and see if I can find a key. Actually, no, I'll start you down here and then I'll let you go to the room.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone's down here. So this is actually a mural done by a Philadelphia artist by the name of James Dupree. But I'm going to start here with this sculpture because it's one of my favorite pieces in the entire museum. So of course it's a bust of Richard Allen, and it was commissioned for the first World's Fair of the country. So the first World's Fair was held here in Philadelphia, and then the World's Fair lasted an entire year, so 365 days. It was important since it was commissioned for the World's Fair. And it was the first sculpture of an African American, and it was, of course, paid for by the church, so paid for by African Americans. So it was Allen. The concept was Allen's bust, his body, a gazebo, and benches, and the title was "Come and Sit and Have a Chat with Richard Allen." Now, the church commissioned a sculptor out in Ohio to actually make it. By the time he finished, there were only 2 or 3 months left in the World's Fair, so it took him way too long to finish. So they put it on a train in Ohio. What do you think happened when the train hit Pittsburgh?
Busted.
Fell into the river. The only thing that survived was the bust.
My goodness.
So by the time they cleaned up the wreckage and got everything back here, there were only 9 days left in the World's Fair. So the church said, you know what, just go put it over, like the World's Fair was held over at Fairmount Park by the zoo. They said, just go put it over there to say it made it. So they did, stayed there 9 days. By the time it came, so they came back to the church, and the church had no idea what to do with it, because it's not the concept. You were not coming to sit and have a chat with Richard Allen. You're going out this bust. So the AME church had just acquired Wilberforce University back out in Ohio, so they said, ship it out here. So Wilberforce was founded by like former slaves, people recently educated, to educate former slaves, people who had never had education. They did not have time to deal with this statue because they were trying to build a college for people who had never been to college for, fund it, just all these things.
Yes.
So they put it in the basement. They put it in storage. It stayed in storage so long everyone who knew it was in storage dies.
My God.
Just so happened, a tornado comes along and levels.
Will you stop?
And guess what they find in the wreckage?
Of course.
Allen. So they were like, you know what, fine. So they put him in the circulation desk at the library, and kids would actually use him as a giant post-it. So
my
if
God.
I see you, Miss Alicia,
yeah.
I would say, Miss Alicia, meet me at 7. Like, look at Allen at the desk. So you look for my note to know where.
Oh my goodness!
They drew eyes on him, and he was totally vandalized. And as I'm sure you know, the AME church pastors can be placed all around the country. So our pastor wasn't paid. He preached, and he had a church in California. Like churches in New Jersey. So when he was finally assigned here, he's like, I remember seeing this statue of Allen. So we called them up and they shipped it over. So it wasn't until 2010 that statue come back here. So in 1875-76, when it was commissioned, they come back here. Yes, if this isn't telling the story of like Richard Allen and perseverance, then I hear nothing else. I know.
That's a good one.
All right, so behind you, it's actually a mural, like I was saying, done by a man by the name of James Dupree. And in it, you'll see Richard and his second wife, Sarah. I'm not sure if you know he had 2 wives.
All right.
No, his first wife, Flora, was sick the entire time of the marriage. And rumor has it that Sarah was actually one of her nurses.
Okay.
And that he married her 6 months after Flora died.
Okay.
Down here, you'll see a picture of slave hunters. So the Fugitive Slave Act was passed in the 1790s, so around 1792, 93, I believe. And then, so what that meant, that if you were a former slave who had escaped to free territory, you can now be taken from that free territory and be enslaved because you were property. Prior to that, it was like once you escaped free territory, you were free. So of course, this actually created an underground cohort of actually slave hunters. So, and then from that bred actually slave kidnappers. So like you had people who were taking people, let's say, Mr. Chuck, you were free, they would actually take you off the street. Even though you were free. So the church actually had to institute a curfew that said if you were a man or a boy, you could not go out after nightfall because they would take you off the street. Even
there's a movie about that.
Yeah,
about that in upstate New York.
Was it 13 Years a Slave?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Mm-hmm. That was real good.
Mm-hmm. And then of course the blacksmith shop. You'll see the brick church, Rough Cast Church, brick church. And then you'll see what life might have looked like on the Underground Railroad. So the church was a stop on the Underground Railroad. And this structure was not, since it was built in 1889, after slavery had ended. But like the third, second, and first, and even the blacksmith shop would have been the stops. Over here, are you an Eastern Star or you're a Mason?
I was, but my father was a Mason, yeah.
So
it attracted me upstairs when I looked at the...
Yeah, so that window is actually depicted in this mural here. That window was actually donated by the Masons in 1893. Have you seen the key, Miss Margaret? Yes. I'm sorry, Miss Margaret. So it was actually donated by the Prince Hall Masons. Allen Wood was actually the treasurer of the Masons. So it was donated by them in 1893, and it represents the different levels. I mean, the breach in masonry all the way down from the blue house up to the next step.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. And of course, England would not grant blacks the charter, so the charter actually had to come from Scotland. I'm sorry, from Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Over here, you'll see the yellow fever epidemic. The 1790s were a big period of time. So, for like in just Philadelphia and our nation's history. So the yellow fever epidemic hit the city of Philadelphia, knocked out about 10% of the population. And at first, one of the signers of the Constitution, who was a prominent doctor by the name of Dr. Benjamin Rush, he led a charge that actually said that blacks were immune because blacks are from Africa, so we can't get yellow fever. Now we know that we get the same diseases, that's what people get. So then he would send in blacks to actually treat whites. And of course, we started getting sick. And at that point, there was nobody really left to treat blacks. So think about how desolate it was. Even the White House that was here then actually left the city. Like that's how
devastating.
Yeah, exactly. So now there's nobody left to treat. So actually Allen and Absalom Jones actually got trained by Benjamin Rush as to how to treat blacks and treat others with the yellow fever epidemic. And they actually wrote about that work, and that became the first published work and copyrighted work by African Americans in the country. We were reprinted in the museum. Thank you so much, Miss Margaret. You're the best. Over here, of course, you'll see Allen. He's the second bishop of the AME Church, Morris Brown. You know Morris Brown University. He's actually from South. Thank you so much. He's actually from South Carolina. Like he founded the Mother Emanuel Church, like church shootings were. That was a church that actually he founded. Over here is actually a man by the name of Bishop Schaefer. What do you notice about Bishop Schaefer?
What?
He's not white, but he looks very white. He looks very white. He was from a community in which everyone looked like him. He was black. It was if you could see this window. You were sitting. You probably couldn't see the other window. So there's actually a window. Like you're sitting to the left. It was probably over you, so you couldn't see it. But it's actually the medal awarded to colored soldiers who fought in the Civil War, and that was his medal.
Wow.
Now, mind you, he led this dual lifestyle. He was pastor. He passed for white. He went to Jefferson Medical School as a white person.
Wow.
If you were a congregant out of this church and you saw him on the street, you saw him in a hotel, you saw him any place outside the structure, outside the AME structure, you would not speak to him, and he would be livid and tell you so.
Kind of ties into the sermon today.
Yeah, exactly. And he actually used the fact that like he could pass to actually find out zoning laws, to find
Right,
out,
right.
like just different laws that were coming down the pike that could influence blacks. And if you think about, like, he was willing to give his life as a colored soldier.
Yes.
You know, like there is some type of dual lifestyle. Like,
Yes, out of dichotomy.
Yes, exactly. All right, and here is the tomb of Richard Allen, as well as the tomb of Sarah, as well as the tomb of Morris Brown.
Wow, a lot of people.
A lot of people in the tomb. It is pre-embalming, so they're most likely all bones, and most likely they are stacked. I have never rolled the tomb away.
My God.
But that's what I can imagine.
Yeah.
You can feel free, you can go in, you can take pictures. If you
Oh,
want.
yeah. It reminded me when we went down, well, I went down to the Civil Rights Museum in the Emmett Till.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
my gosh, isn't that
Oh,
powerful?
my God.
Like
that was like the
one
only
was
place
like-
you couldn't take pictures.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
I wasn't.
That
You could feel the spirit. Couldn't you just feel everything?
Yes.
Yes, it was horrible. It was just like, oh my God. But I'm glad she kept that coffin open.
I know. I mean, that took strength.
It did. It did. Wow, I would kind of agree with you about the stacking, because there's no room, especially like you said, there's no cremation. Yes, this is beautiful. My cousin Michelle passed, so this is a wonderful way to remember her.
Oh, so where is
she passed in Connecticut.
Okay.
Yeah, and my husband had planned to get away, so it was perfect timing. Yeah, so this was wonderful.
So where are you from?
Connecticut.
Oh, you're from Connecticut.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so over here, I'm not sure if you know the artist Henry O. Tanner.
I do.
His father was an AME bishop.
Wow.
Benjamin. And his father, when Henry was living in Paris, he had him commission, he had the church commission Henry to do this work. So it's his only work, not in oil and in bas relief. So it's up here.
Wow.
Henry didn't want to do it. And the church ultimately did not pay him to do it.
Oh my goodness.
So he didn't finish all of it, so it actually had to be restored later. But like you'll see right here, his initials, H-O-T.
Yeah. Wow.
All right, over here, I actually spoke about the yellow fever epidemic and how they wrote about
This
it.
is the first
That's a reprint,
publication?
yeah, of that.
Wow.
Over here is actually Sarah and Richard's rent book. So Richard Allen, many people think he was like an entrepreneur and all these things. There's really not too much evidence of that. What there is evidence of is that he kind of had his hand in everything. So he had a lot of properties. If you needed a job, you would pay him a fee. He would collect a fee, like for posting a job. Yeah, like he was like a modern day like Craigslist.
Yeah.
So after he passed away, he had all these properties. Sarah had to collect rent. This is her actual rent book.
Wow.
We are not sure if she could read and write, since occasionally after her name, like you'll see an X, which like may have meant that her oldest son
Right.
actually wrote it for her.
Wow.
Got a question about our guns? You just wonder why they're here. So we don't know. So there are a couple prevailing theories. One, during the War of 1812, they did a call to arms and everyone marched down to Penn's Landing. So Allen actually got a few thousand men to actually march down to Penn's Landing and they weren't needed. That's one theory of why the guns were found in the walls. The second theory is during the turn of the 19th century, the Irish were also coming into the same neighborhood, and there were race riots and all of, like, because everyone was competing over the same skilled jobs, skilled labor.
Right, manufacturing, yeah.
Exactly. And just artisans as well, like you know, masonry, construction, like all these jobs, like carpentry, they're all being competed. They're all...
My mother and father were from Philadelphia.
Oh, really?
South Philly. Yeah.
Oh, nice. And yeah, like, and this is like a few blocks from here. Because South Street is a block, like just south of here. So one of the theories was that there weren't that many men to guard the church. So one of the elders, she had this idea that she would post men up like in the top windows and they would walk by with their guns slung over their shoulder.
Wow.
But there weren't that many men at night, so they have to crawl back and walk again, so it looked like they were constantly patrolling. But
Oh my
only two
Right.
guys. One or two guys.
How
But whatever it
ingenious
is,
was that?
Exactly.
Okay.
The church still stood.
Yes.
So over here, so the church had a burial ground a couple blocks from here. I believe it's 4th and Queen or 4th and Catherine. So the city limits actually ended right here at South Street at one point. And when the city limits ended, you couldn't bury blacks like if they weren't on like church property, like you couldn't bury them within the city limits. So the church actually had a property that's at like 4th and Capitol, like I said.
And that was the burial ground?
And that was the burial ground. So, but as the property became, as the city limits extended beyond South Street, that property became quite valuable. So the church actually sold it in 1964 because it's, one, it's a hassle to burial ground. 2, it became valuable. 3, they needed to build this structure. So they got the money for it. They left with the bodies. So now it's like a combination, like playground. They're putting a community center there. So they were doing some excavating a couple of summers ago, since they have to know how far to dig before they hit bodies, before they can build on top of it. So they actually found this tombstone. All we know that her name was Amelia Brown. She was 26 when she died.
My daughter's named Amelia.
Oh, really? Yeah, and that's her tombstone. And we know that she's buried there, and she must have been a member of this church.
Wow. Beautiful.
Alan's Bible, given to him by Thomas Garrett. And then if you went down to D.C., I'm not sure if you came down to the first level, they actually had a few of these pews.
I did. I sat at them.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like if you went around that corner, like on the very first level, like when you left the slave ship. So there are a couple of the pews there. These are pillars from the two pillars on the side that are flanking it, are actually from the second church, which means Alan would have stood on those.
Oh my
stood
goodness.
At that pillar. There are hymnals and Bibles from him as well. Over here is a clock that would have hung in probably most likely the third church. And it's kind of my favorite in that if you look at the side, you'll see the slats.
Yeah.
So the slats had angel wings, and they would flap on the hour.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's cool.
I know, right? Like, could you imagine sitting in church?
Okay, like, really?
I know.
Angels are present, huh?
Exactly, like, and just waiting for
I love it. I love it.
So if you just look at how membership grew, so when Alan left St. George's, he came here around 1794, there were about 20 members. Less than 20 years later, there were almost like 1,300 members.
Wow.
So the free blacks of the free blacks of like Philadelphia needed a place to come and compete because Philadelphia had the largest free black population in the nation. And many people think, oh, you know, they think about Harlem and the Renaissance, they think of Chicago and the arts. But if you think about a person like Henry O. Tanner and his father, like the arts started here so much earlier.
Right.
Since like we were here so much earlier.
Exactly.
All right, over here is Fanny Jackson Coffin. I love to talk about her because she was a force in her own right. She was a supervisor, so a bishop's wife. She was born a slave. She graduated from Oberlin College. She was the first black school administrator in the city of Philadelphia. It was called the Institute for Colored Youth.
Wow.
It later became Cheney University. So in a sense,
wow.
She was the first HBCU president.
All right now.
Now, I think all those things are great, but what I think is probably the most impressive about her is that she was a bishop's wife, and she was the first one to realize that she didn't have to go through her husband to raise money for causes, to get people to come to events. She was actually to ask the women under my charge.
Okay.
And so she was the first one to be like, I can raise thousands of dollars. I can get hundreds of people, thousands of people to come to an event just under my own pen.
That's right. That's right. Okay.
So so she was just, and many people think Coppin State in Baltimore is named after her husband. It's actually named after her.
Wow.
And over here is a lady's dress. We don't know to whom it was, to whom it belonged. But you could see, first of all, she was tiny. Second of all, it's silk, and you see the embroidery. You see the parasol has all these etchings.
Yes.
And if you think about the sign of the times, 1850s, unless you were Bishop Schaefer, you were not going to shows. You were not going to hotels.
That's right.
You were not traveling too much. So the only place to go and show your social standing, to show your wealth, was church.
Yes.
So like many people always think, oh, how come the black women get so dressed up and wear their big hats? It's a relic of when we had no place else to actually do it.
Amen. That's history. This is from my
preaching
preaching friend, Reverend Tucker. This is her girl right here. She actually did the commencement speech for my son's graduation down at Alabama A&M.
Nice.
Yeah, she was amazing.
She is.
She was amazing.
So actually, here's the anvil. This is one of our most recent pieces commissioned by our current pastor. So the one side is Richard Allen, the other side is Sarah.
Okay.
You actually see the hull of a slave ship.
Wow.
At the top, and if you look at the mirror at the bottom, like you actually see the middle passage.
Yes. Yes. Beautiful. Oh my goodness. So awesome. We celebrate the Ma'afa at my church, so they are going to love this. Oh my goodness. Beautiful.
And I spoke about, like, behind you, Miss Alicia, I spoke about slave hunters and kidnappers. And if you think about, like, that's from Massachusetts, but and like we're of course in Pennsylvania, but the Commonwealth really had a vested interest of keeping their citizens in their territory.
Yeah.
Because if you have people who are paying taxes, have families who are living, you don't want them being taken off the streets. Like, it's just bad, like, for the Commonwealth, it's bad for the economy, it's bad for morale, it's bad for all these things. So the Commonwealth would actually put out proclamations that were fairly descriptive. So it'll say something like one of them is called Davis. He has a Roman nose. One of his eyes has been knocked out. He looks like a pirate.
Wow.
So they would make it as descriptive as possible. So like, say that you could read Miss Alicia, and I couldn't. You could come home and tell me exactly what it said.
Yes.
Like, it'll tell, like, what he's wearing.
Oh my goodness, I love it.
Descriptive, yeah.
Yes.
I love it. Oh my goodness, how we looked out for each other.
I know. And down here is a ballot box. So you probably know this from your Masonic history. However, the ballot box, like, this church was founded by former slaves who were not necessarily literate, who could not necessarily read or write. And when Allen came here, the people built this church, like, on 13 cents a week. So it was people who were laborers, who were former slaves, like, they were not educated. If, like, you left and actually went with Absalom Jones a block from here and to the Episcopal Church actually built this ornate structure. So if you were educated, you were a teacher, you were a doctor, you were a lawyer, you were black, you went there. Everyone else, you came here.
All right.
But like, the AME Church is really big on participation and people voting. So what they do is they'd actually put like, pictures of like who's running for office, or the ordinance, or whatever they're thinking about, like, the rules. And then, like, you'd actually put, like, a black ball for no, a white ball for yes, and at the back. So that's where the expression comes from. You got black ball.
Yeah.
Wow. Nice.
Exactly. It actually comes from that. And then Judith Jameson, that's a picture of her.
Yeah.
You know, she grew up in this church.
Wow.
There's a picture of all the bishops in London. We went to go visit John Wesley's grave.
Yes.
And then Frederick Douglass came here, keeping in mind that, and like, I want to speak to audiences of about thousands of people, just because even though you may be out of slavery, you still have relatives.
Yeah, of
you
course.
may still have children that are still in slavery. So everyone was really invested in slavery ending, even after some of us were free.
Wow.
What's the pastor's name of the church
now? Mark Kelly Tyler.
Mark Tyler.
This was amazing. I love this.
Yes, and you're more than welcome. So we are open every day from Tuesday through